Hello, my name is Tim Erickson. I'm often found on the internet under the name of St. Paul Tim, and my company Triplo and our website Simplo are here today to present you with a screencast on how to use the user time zone tokens module for Backdrop CMS. This module is available to us thanks to the hard work of Robert Lang. Thank you, Robert, for this great module. The module can be found on backdropcms.org under the add-ons modules tab. And the purpose of this module is to solve problems like this. We are currently planning a cool event. I hope that you will come or were there, depending on when you watch this video, Backdrop Live. This is an online international event with people participating from many different time zones. We usually have at least 7 or 8 different time zones represented, and in theory we could have quite a few more. And we want to display things like this, like a little block showing when different session blocks are, but also we have a full schedule here of individual sessions or topics. And we want people to be able to see when these will be happening in their local time zone. And we have already enabled the user time zone token module to solve that problem. So these were programmed originally with Pacific Coast times. This one was at 7 a.m. And thanks to the user time zone token module, that's being translated to use the time zone of my browser, because I'm not logged into the site. So I can't, the site doesn't know who I am or where I live, but the browser does, know something about me. The browser knows that I am in the central time zone, and so this is being converted based on the central time zone. Previous versions of Backdrop Live, we've resorted to sort of complicated spreadsheets to help people find out when sessions are. We're hoping this works much better. There are some possible glitches with this. We'll talk about those later, but let's first of all just see how this module works. First of all, this module is dependent on the token filter module. The token filter module supports a lot of other modules that use tokens. So we don't need to say anything more other than you will have to download and enable this. Depending on how you use the user time zone token module, you may or may not need the Luxon module. The Luxon module provides a library, the Luxon library, which is used by this module and could, in theory, be used by other modules as well. This library is going to be required for our use today, but again, there are some scenarios where you may not need this. We'll get to that later. This is our demo site. I've done a couple of things to prepare this so that we can move along quickly today. First of all, I added a content type called event. And under that event content type, I added basically just a date field. I pretty much used the default settings for the date field. I haven't done anything else. You'll see I also did add one node called test event. This was showing up on the front page. You might have noticed it already. This event basically has a body field and a date. And let's take a look at it, edit it. Basically, I've hard-coded a date here. There's no filters, nothing special here. And in the date field, I put the same date. So we have the same date. This is a week from today, October 20th at 7 p.m. Central Time, and that's listed here twice. The time zone, user time zone token module can help you translate date fields, or it can help you translate dates that are in the body field. This makes it particularly powerful and helpful. Let me go ahead and save this change. So as I let's get all of those modules enabled. The next thing we need to configure is under configuration, regional and language, there's user time zone tokens. And really this just gives us a choice of 3 settings. And that is to use either the user's time zone, this is for logged in users, for authenticated user, or the server time zone for anonymous user. This can be done with Core, but it doesn't. Core wouldn't have the token available for this that this module provides. The other 2 options both get a little bit more complicated. This is use the user's time zone for if you're authenticated, and the browser's time zone for anonymous users. This is where the magic starts to happen. This requires this module and that Luxon library. And the third is to always use the browser time zone, whether the user is authenticated or anonymous. And I worry about option number 2 because there is some possibility for confusion. If a user is logged out in one browser and logged in another, they could easily end up with 2 different times appearing. And there are ways around that. But anyways, we're going to work with this third option today. We want always the site to figure out what time zone the browser is using and use that. So I'm going to go ahead and save that configuration. The next thing we're going to have to do is that the way the user time zone token module works with the date field is in the display. It lets you change the display of that date field. So we have to go to the content types, and we have to go to events, and then we want to manage the display. And if you hopefully you've worked with display modes before, this is the default display mode that we use on the node page. And in here we have the date field, and you'll see there's a date format, and the user time zone token module provides an alternative date format. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and then I'm going to hit save. And now we're going to go back. So we're here at our test event, which is an international user group meeting on the topic of date formats. So at this stage, this should work now. This should be converting that date to the user's time zone, but I'm in the central time zone, so there's no conversion happening. What I'm going to do is switch to another browser where I'm not logged in, first of all, to just make that clear that being logged in is not affecting this. And then I also need to figure out a way, how do I make the browser think that I'm in a different place or in a different time zone? And I did a little research on that today, and I found that if you have the developer tools, you can open up the developer tools. I get to them by right-clicking and then clicking on the inspector. And then I have these developer tools in the right sidebar. If you don't know about these developer tools, check it out. Do some Googling, learn about the developer tools. They're really powerful and helpful if you're building a site, especially if you're doing theming, but even for things like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the console. Okay, so I'm going to switch to the console, and this is a little complicated. Up under these 3 dots in the console, I go to More Tools, and I click Sensors. And basically what this lets me do is have the browser think I'm in a different location, and then see how it will behave. So I can tell the browser that I'm in Moscow. I can come over here, refresh the page, and boom, sure enough, this time was now converted to Thursday, October 21st at 3 a.m. We could jump over to, say, not Sao Paulo, let's go to Tokyo, and refresh the page, and boom, that time is automatically translated to 9 a.m. A little more reasonable for the folks in Tokyo to participate. That's part of what we can do, but there's another thing that I want to show you with the user time zone. We haven't actually used the tokens yet. We've used the user time zone, but we haven't used the tokens. So let's go back to our previous version, and we're going to edit this node. And what I'm going to do is copy a little bit of code, well, a little bit of text really, not code. Basically, this is some text saying, here's the token, and then this is the token. These are what tokens look like in Backdrop. And there's a number of different ways we use tokens. Do a little bit of research if you don't know about tokens. This token has a format. We can see the format here in the user time zones documentation, which is bracket, and then the words UTZ-datetime : that is hard-coded, that doesn't change. But then you put the actual date time of the original date time, and then the format you want that date time displayed in. And there's a little bit of stuff here to help you with that in the description. I've went ahead and done that, and what we can see is from here to here is so we have to be very explicit about the PM or AM, and we also have to add a time zone here so it knows what our original time zone is. And I'm starting with CDT. And then what we're doing is displaying the format we want to display this in. And you'll see why this is important that we do this particular thing, because I've done things like I want to display the time zone in a sort of an expanded way to avoid any chance of confusion that the user is looking at or thinks that it's in their local time zone and it's not. So this MD, YG colon IAE, and capitalization is important here, is all based on the PHP sort of codes for formats. And so these are in a way kind of tokens or variables you can use to build custom date formats. And if you maybe haven't thought about it before, there are just almost an infinite number of ways that you can display dates. Differences between, are you using abbreviations for the day of the week or the long version of the day of the week, or not using the day of the week at all? Are you adding an ST after the first? Are you putting a 0 before the date if it's one digit or not? And we've got different tokens for all of these different options, and you can combine them in any combination you want to display the date the way you want. So I went ahead and created a display, which I think is going to work for us. Let's go ahead and save this. And we can see right away, I don't need to check in the browser that this isn't working. It's just showing me the date format. And that's because there's one more bit of configuration that we haven't done yet. Okay, we need to create a text format that recognizes this token. And there's a text filter that we have to enable and use. And I had a little problem. I'm not sure if that text format conflicts with other text formats. But anyways, let's go to configuration, content authoring. Here we have text editors and formats. And so I'm going to go back to the text formats, and I'm going to add a new one, and I'm going to call it raw HTML. And raw HTML means we're not filtering the HTML at all. Anybody can put any HTML they want in this page, so please use this with caution, because if you've got users editing your site. And then I'm going to put time zone. So this is a raw HTML format that's specifically set up for time zone. We're not going to be using CK editor with this. We're going to have to enter our code in raw. And I'm going to hit save config. So now I have I have to configure this. I'm sorry, I forgot one more thing. We're going to leave this only available for administrators. And then we're going to come down here and we can see none of these filters are enabled, but we need to enable the replace token filter. So now we have a raw HTML time zone text format with only that one filter. So now we can go back to our content, go to edit this. It's all still here, but we're going to change. If we go to formatting options, we can change from filtered HTML to raw HTML time zone. There we go. We lose our little WYSIWYG editor because in this format, we're going to have to hard code everything. But what we can see is that we could probably get rid of this. These are just some line spaces. We've got some paragraph tags here and some text. And then we have our token. And this token should work just fine inside the paragraph tags like this. No problem. So I'm going to go ahead and save this now with that filter. Let's go to the page. Now we can see that this has changed. It's now, the token is working. It's displaying a date and time. However, it's still the same date and time. So in order to test this, we're going to switch over again to our other browser. There we go. I had to refresh it twice. And again, everything's still at 7 p.m. on the 20th, but that's because, again, the browser still thinks that we're in the original time zone. So what I need to do is come over here. Well, I don't need to go anywhere, but I need to switch this. So I can change this to Berlin. Come back here, refresh this, and boom. Both the date in the body field and in the date field have been converted. Both of them are now October 21st at 2 a.m. And both of them are using whichever date format was set for them. And this is the long date format that I set up with all those things that shows Europe/Berlin. I think if you're going to use a module like this, you want the user to know what time zone it's being displayed in. And I'm not sure if everybody around the world understands the same time zone abbreviations. Anyways, so this seems to be working, and really, I don't think there's anything more to show you right now. This is how the time zone token filter works. You could use the same thing in a block. You could put it anywhere. You're going to have to get creative with how you use this. So far, my testing with this module, it's worked pretty good. It does require JavaScript, so if a user has JavaScript turned off, this module's not going to work. And that might be another, you might want to be thinking about fallbacks for that. So I'm going to hang it up for today, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Please do check out our YouTube channel, Team Triplo. Thanks.